So this is the Samsung Galaxy S25, and today we're going to speed test it against the iPhone 16. This is the base model speed test comparison. Let's find out which one comes out on top. But what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Happy Friday, and let's go ahead and begin with a boot up test in 3, 2, go and see which one can get there first. Now, we are looking at two phones that are the base models for each respective manufacturer, Samsung S25 and the iPhone 16. Now, keep in mind the 8 Elite is on board here with a little bit less resolution than S25 Ultra, but it retains the same amount of RAM. So the new S25s now have 12 gigabytes of RAM. The older ones had 8. The iPhone 16 takes longer to boot up, but the iPhone 16 actually has 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is up from its previous version. But the S25 has more RAM, and we'll see if it has a faster chip in terms of the day-to-day performance here. But so far, the Samsung a bit quicker here. Definitely feels thinner and lighter than the iPhone 16 as well. And this one is so thin that I'm like kind of excited to see this Galaxy Edge. We'll see how that looks, the S25 Edge. All right, when taking a look at the biometrics, you can see with the Galaxy S25, we are looking at ultrasonic, so very quick to unlock, which means that once you know where it's at, I literally don't even have to look. I can unlock this phone. I literally was not looking. You couldn't tell, but I was not looking. You can also unlock that pretty easily without even like coming out of the pocket. If you know where it's at, you can unlock it like so. The iPhone Face ID is pretty nice for the convenience factor and pretty quick. So they're not really too different in unlocking speed, but the Samsung, I do think gets the nod in speed there. We are talking about speed. Generally, One UI 7, though, the day-to-day performance is actually quite good. It's pretty nice out of the box with hardly anything to speak of in terms of any major bugs or anything like that. I haven't had any real issues, no app crashes, nothing like that. So Samsung launched these pretty much ready to go this year, and I quite like that. You don't want a phone launching to the public that definitely is not ready to go, and this one has been ready. It's very snappy, very fast, faster animations, and more polished than ever before for a Samsung device. Now, the iPhone over here, the thing you really notice is the 60 hertz when you switch between these. It's pretty apparent, especially when you kind of like launch some apps. You know, they kind of just look a little bit slower with the way it runs along the software. But other than that, it definitely performs at a similar clip in terms of the CPU. It's just the 60 hertz has got to go. It really does, man. Like, Apple cannot do this again, for real. I mean, I don't expect to see it this year, but it's been too long to be seeing 60 hertz, and it just becomes more and more noticeable as every other competitor comes out with a phone that continues to be faster and faster and faster. This seems to feel like it's going behind, even though it has such a nice design, nice camera, great software. It's just, come on with the 60 hertz already. I want to see 90 hertz minimum to 120 hertz promotion on the base model iPhones. It's not going to affect the Pro sales because people still want the big screen. They're not going to get the small one either way, but the people who are should benefit from it. All right, so here we are at the app test. Everything is closed out for both phones. As you can see, no recently used apps. Let's head into calendar. And the Samsung, just like with the Ultra, is seeming to look just a little bit snappier with the animation. Of course, you could go into the developer options and put 1.5x, and then you'll be matching what the iPhone looks like, basically. And you could also lower it more on the Samsung and be even faster. You could actually reduce animations for the iPhone, but I don't like it either way. I like to do my speed tests right how they come out of the box because most users are just going to use them the way they come. So you see right there, fast on the left, and yes, we are seeing news as you see at the top. The iPhone SE update is likely going to launch very, very shortly here, potentially as early as next week according to the rumors. So stay tuned. We'll probably do a review on that one as well, even though it's not going to be a massive update. It should come at a pretty reasonable price. You've seen Samsung a little quicker there with the Play Store. Let's go ahead and hit games on both. iPhone a little bit quicker there. Once an application, you know, both of them tend to perform fine when it comes to launching things. I do see that the Samsung seems to just move along just a little faster this year. You know, I mean, it was that way, I think, for the 15 and S24 as well. But this 8 Elite chip is seriously no joke. It really is fast and ready for everyday AI and stuff like that. So we go to Amazon. That was first on the left. Swipe them out of there. And I will say one of the areas I do think that, let me go to trending. I do think that Samsung has actually improved the S25 is animations. It really does look great with the animations. They don't really look jarring anymore. I will say that, going to Groupon, the iPhone still has a really good chip for, the games and stuff like that. It does have good GPU. And we have to redo Groupon because Samsung wasn't launching that correct. Let's go to Groupon. Faster on the left. The iPhone still has some games that come to it that don't come to the Samsung, but it really depends on which ones you play, because most of the main titles that everybody wants to play are on both of them. Let's go to Dead Trigger 2, and we'll see which one can get in there first. Samsung in there. iPhone a little bit behind initially. Now it's fine. Now we're getting a bunch of pop-ups. Let's go over here to the world settings right here, and let's go ahead and hit play on both and see what happens here. And you can see the Samsung moving on just a little bit faster. Could be my finger. Maybe I clicked it faster. I don't know. At the same time, I will say once in the game, this is a really old game. Doesn't really showcase. It's not that hard to load this one. But once in the games, though, they're kind of like the same screen size. So you kind of have the same experience. Let's go into Subway Surfers. Although the 120 hertz on the Samsung will provide a little bit smoother. You've seen Samsung had Subway Surfers way faster, and of course it's just a casual game. But when you're sitting waiting for your appointment or whatever, you just want to pop open Subway Surfers or something light like that to kill some quick time. Maybe Brawl Stars. This is going to be a little bit faster to do. You see that right there on the Samsung phone. So you could see over here. Here comes the iPhone, and I know it's not all about speed these days, but both of them have solid camera offerings, solid ecosystem offerings, so you really can't go wrong either way here. But if you're into tech, like I know a lot of you are on this channel, you're probably going to prefer the S25 here. Punch hole is a lot smaller, Dynamic Island. However, Dynamic Island is somewhat useful for sure with certain applications, but Samsung has the Now Brief, the Now Bar. That comes like to the bottom, and you can see some things up here sometimes. So they kind of do the same things. Let's go into Call of Duty, and we'll see which one can pop Call of Duty open faster. And you're gonna see that Samsung currently in the lead, but I never want to call it a win until it actually gets there first. So you can see Samsung's still in the lead, and here we go. Samsung wins. So once again, I don't know, man. I think the Samsung's a faster phone in actual usage. It really is. They've stepped it up. I remember years ago that Samsung wasn't even close sometimes to these iPhones. Not anymore. Not anymore. Things have changed. Let's go into Free Fire. That doesn't mean, though, that people have changed their preferences, though. I'm just saying the performance changed. I'm not saying that it's a better phone for you. You might be like, I don't like the Samsung phone regardless. I like watching the videos, but I don't like I like watching your videos, Nick, but I don't like the Samsung phone either way. I'm not saying you're wrong for that. If you love the iPhone, that's all good. I personally like the Samsung phone of more of these two in this comparison, simply because I don't like how the iPhone continues to put 60 hertz. I probably would pick the iPhone 16 Pro over this iPhone or this Galaxy S25, but not the base model. It would be a little bit of a tougher comparison with the 16 Pro versus S25 Plus, though. So let me know if you want to see that one. And PUBG takes the win here for the iPhone, so strikes back for the iPhone 16. And let's swipe up out of here, and we'll go on to Speed Test Net. And you can see both of them flying along just fine. Geekbench 6, I think that was the iPhone, and 3D Mark, I think that was the iPhone. So I think the Samsung overall won more applications. It scrolls a little bit faster. It's just snappier animations. Overall, I would say that the Samsung S25 feels faster in day-to-day practice than the iPhone 16. However, the 16 still has iOS, and if iOS is something that you still want to use these days, you definitely could prefer this. I would not be, wrong. You would not be wrong in thinking that if that's your preference. So it's just really down to preference these days. Okay, so when reloading the apps, let's go ahead and take a look at the Samsung. This should be exactly the same as what we've seen on S25 Ultra because this phone right here does have the same amount of RAM. Brawl Stars always does that relaunch because I wasn't actually at the actual start screen. I was kind of like the setup. Let's go over here. Gemini, a little bit glitchy there. It does that on pretty much most Android phones right now when I reload. But generally, no major issues. And, you know, I complained before about Apple not having split screen. You can do split screen and pop view on this small Galaxy. I understand who's going to use this. I will, because if I'm going to be doing a calculation, I'm going to do a calculation with maybe, you know, Instagram on the top and counting up whatever. Or I have a banking app up here and a note down here. I might use this. So I'm just saying they need to get split screen over here on the iPhone ASAP. So let's see how the iPhone does. Now, the thing I always like about the iPhone is even though this phone doesn't have the most RAM. Oh, this looks a little choppy coming out though. Oh, yeah. It always seems to have the apps loaded though. Even Gemini looked a little bit better. Besides the 60 Hertz, this seeming to load these pretty well. It did a fantastic job here, but they just look kind of slow with the 60 Hertz refresh. So that again made it look not as pleasing. It looks pretty jarring, honestly, coming from that phone to this phone. It looks slow. Like the actual reload. It just, I don't know, man. I can't look at it. I can't unsee it no more. I don't know about you. Can you unsee it? I can't. So here are the final benchmarks, and you can see, as usual, the iPhone 16 winning in the single core and the Samsung blowing it away in the multi-core. Both of them do have a nice win on each of those. So they're kind of like pretty close in the benchmarks. But in actual reality, I honestly just think it's the 60 Hertz that makes the difference, because if this had the promotion, it would be basically neck and neck all the way through. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Wildlife Extreme test. So we'll do this test right here, and I'll be back to see what kind of graphics they can pull in after this. So I'll be right back. And here are our final Wildlife Extreme scores, and you could see the Samsung actually took a pretty big leap there. When it comes to this one, we did see ourselves 5862 on the overall score and 35.10 on the refresh, or on the actual frame rate. So you can see right here, scoring better than 97% of devices on the market, whereas the iPhone 16 here actually has a 3884 and 23 FPS, so much lower, and 83%. So according to this benchmark, the Samsung would be much better in the graphics department, although certain games might be better developed for iPhone, which means it might have better performance in certain games. So it depends on what game you're playing and how well it's developed for each platform. But the Samsung definitely way in the lead here on Wildlife Extreme. And let's go ahead and launch the cameras and see which one can do this quicker. In 3, 2, go. And you can see, I think that was the Samsung. Let me go ahead and check that again. I was kind of not looking. Let's do this again. 3, 2, go. No, that was the iPhone, actually. Yeah, I thought I might have seen the iPhone, but I called it the Samsung. Let me swipe up out of there. I'm trying not to drop the phone because it's so slippery when you're doing this. 3, 2, go. Yeah, the iPhone faster to launch that camera. Transitioning between the lenses still looks a little smoother on the iPhone. I do have to mention that. But wrapping it up here at the end of this speed test, what is the final conclusion here? Well, both have great ecosystems. You can get Galaxy Watch Ultra now. You can get Apple Watch Ultra. You can get Apple Watches. You can get AirPods. You can get Galaxy Buds. You can get tablets, iPads, Samsung. You get the drill. It's really down to the ecosystem you like and which phone you prefer. You know, honestly though, from the outside perspective, most people look at these and think they're very competitive and like one or the other. But in the actual usage, I think Samsung's offering more value because you have an extra camera, number one, with longer zoom, smoother performance with the 120 Hertz, and basically just a little bit better specs, you know. But other than that, they're pretty much very close. I will say one thing I will give to the iPhone: it does have a slightly higher resolution screen. This is a 1080p screen, but it is more tuned. You can like tune it more customization settings and stuff like that. But this is not a review. So at the end of the day, the Samsung's slightly faster. I'd call it the win in this particular speed test. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here, and I will catch you all in the very next episode. Thank you very much for watching, and peace.